Hello, we start with Amazon because the world's biggest online retailer just got bigger. It's raked in another huge quarter of revenues as it rides the boom in online shopping. Growth is slowing down, but importantly for its investors, Amazon is starting to make more profit. Let's show you some of the numbers because Amazon made revenues of just under $60 billion in the 3 months to the end of March. That number is up 17% compared to the same number a year ago and better than expected, but it's still far slower than the company has been used to growing as of late. Here is the important bit though, $3.5 billion worth of that was profit, more than double the amount it made last year. That's a whole year now of record profits. Investors have long been concerned that Amazon, vast though it is, doesn't make enough money because margins on online retailing are too small and it's spending too much on new ventures. But some of those new ventures, they're starting to really pay off. For example, Amazon's seeing huge growth in providing cloud computing services to companies. Amazon Web Services saw sales jump over 41%. Here's Michelle Fleury in New York.
The quarterly earnings report marks a period of change at the tech giant. Amazon is seeing sales growth slow, but is making bigger profits than ever before. Just to give you an example, revenue rose 17% in the first 3 months of this year. Now, that may sound impressive until you compare it to the previous year when revenue grew 43%. And the tech giant warned the second quarter may not have such happy news for investors. The disappointing forecast keeping Amazon's share price grounded after a blockbuster first quarter.
Well, the technology analyst Stephanie Hare joins me now. We were talking about growth just there in the introduction. Growth seems to be slowing. Does that even matter?
Well, there's always a trade-off between growth and profitability, and Amazon for a long time was actually criticized for not making money. So they were always reinvesting their profits back into the business. That was the big bet that Jeff Bezos was making, and you could argue that that's paid off. It's one of the biggest companies in the world. And what's really interesting is how diversified its source of income is. So, Amazon is number 3 behind Google and Facebook in advertising revenues.
It's
so
crazy,
it's taking
isn't it?
on big giants, but it's also owning the space in web services. And then there's the whole retail side, and it's got other ventures as well. So now it's starting to focus on profit, and you notice that their operating margins are much better. They've reduced losses. This is a company that's extremely well run. And then the question is going to be, what do they do in the next quarter? Do they take some of that money back and reinvest it?
And it looks like they might be reinvesting it in their prime customers and trying to get them one-day delivery right across the world. That's going to cost them a load of money.
It's going to cost them a lot of money, and there's an environmental cost to that. I mean, you could really argue about Amazon's business model as well in terms of how workers are treated and the like. There's a lot going on there that we would need to unpick with more time. But the fact of the matter is, this is a company that has really diversified its income stream and is going very aggressively. Jeff Bezos very famously bakes in these profits years ahead of time, so he knows exactly what he's doing, where he's going.
Yeah, it's interesting that you sort of touched on that sort of social responsibility side of things. They were very much pushing that on the earnings call last night. Is this a company that is more socially responsible, should we say, than some of the other tech giants that you look at?
That is a very difficult question. I mean, their Alexa, for instance, has been really criticized for people listening on the other end, and the technology is not great in terms of security because you can trace back the listening to somebody's geolocation, so you can, privacy violations there are potentially quite big. There's also issues of packaging. Could they make their packaging more sustainable on their retail angle? And the costs of delivery, you could say, sure, consolidating everything into a one-day delivery is probably better than having multiple deliveries over time. So yes and no, room to improve.
Absolutely. And what's quite interesting is the chief financial officer was saying that he's hoping that by decreasing delivery times, it's going to stimulate more sales. But, does the world need more stuff?
I mean, that's a point of view. Wall Street would love us to buy and buy and buy until the end of time, probably until we torch the planet. Environmentalists would probably like it if we all bought a little bit less.
Yes, and Amazon probably striding both aspects of that and making money on both ends of it. Thanks very much, Stephanie.